Bonjour and welcome to my channel. Okay, this beautiful day today, really warm, very wonderful. Can you guess what I'm sounding like? No, okay, never mind. Hey guys, welcome back to a beautiful sunny day here in South Africa. Today I want to show you how to build a bog garden. I've got some notes here, so please, if my eyes seem distracted, it's because I'm referring to my notes so that I give you proper information, okay? So, firstly, why would you want to build a bog garden? You get to avoid all of this. So, in front of me here, I've got all of these carnivorous plants in tiny little pots. So here I've got some Sarracenias, more Sarracenia, another Sarracenia, and then I've got some Droseras, Venus flytraps, another purple Venus flytrap, and some more Droseras, and also sphagnum moss, which I've got live sphagnum moss in this container, and then I've also got some sphagnum moss right there. Okay. It becomes a mission to manage all of these plants if you're collecting plants and you have so many of these little guys. So you've got to keep the water levels adequate for all of them and repot them and all of that sort of thing. So a nice way to actually keep them all in one place, keep an eye on all of them all at the same time, is to do a bog garden. This is how I build a bog. I've got one outside which I will show you after this video, after we actually do the building of the bog, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterward, so you can see how they all end up really just integrating with one another. And also plants, it is aesthetically pleasing, so it really just looks good, and it limits you having all these hundreds of thousands of tiny little pots. Mosquito. So yeah, why else would you want a bog? That's pretty much it that I can think of. Let's just see. Yeah, that's it. I mean, plants are found in nature, they're found together, so plants enjoy the company of other plants, and that's really part of why I like doing bog gardens, because they're really pretty and they help one another to grow. And this mosquito really wants to try and take a munch out of me, but I won't let it. Got it. So let's do this. What do you need to think about first? First, you need to think about your container. So this container has got holes underneath, right? It does have drainage holes, so that's the shape of the container that I'm going to use. This, obviously, keep in mind, it needs to stand in a tray. So in a tray, I've got this big old tray right here. I do have some other trays that I can use, and I probably will in due course, but I like this tray because it's nice and deep. So for the start of the bog garden, you can really saturate all of your growing medium inside this container. You take this and you put it into this and you fill it with water, and everything just gets quickly soaked evenly, nicely, beautifully, and the plants suffer nothing but happiness. Somehow that doesn't make sense. Anyways, so first things first, container, and then positioning. So you can see I've already arranged them in a specific position. So the sun, you need to look at where your sun rises. So you obviously, if their plants grow taller like the guys in the back here, my sun rises where you are right now. That's north for me. That is south. So the sun rises that side in the east, and it arcs over the sky and sets in the west. So I put all of the taller plants in the back of the actual bog, and then all of the lower growing plants go in the front. And this will actually facilitate these younger guys growing really well, and also it prevents shading out of plants, because carnivorous plants generally tend to like quite a bit of sunlight. So I would put them in the back. Visually, it's also really appealing because your eye basically travels up to the back, so it creates a back wall. You can also put them in the middle if you're going to, if your container is perhaps round, you can turn it around. If you're going to move it around regularly, whatever the case might be, think of your positioning and where you actually want your plants to be. But that's the basic principle, is plants love sunlight. There's competition for sunlight. So if you plant them over something that grows very short and stays very short, it's going to get shaded out and becomes prone to infection and disease and yada yada yada. So let's get going with this. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them back out because I want to show you something. Like this. And so in the base of the tray, you can see that I've already put a growing medium into this. Just about, what is this like? This is not even a centimeter. So it's about half an inch, really. So just over a centimeter, it's about half an inch. So I've just folded up, and why I've done that is because when I place the pot in there, I can see inside this pot, I want it to be about there. Okay, so that goes for all of these guys. So now let me put my notes down, and then we're going to stick them in. Okay, position them very nicely into the container like this, like that. I'll put the tall drosera in the back, and then that drosera over there, and actually let's shift that up a little bit like that, and then I will put the Venus flytrap in front, and little tiny drosera I put in very front like this. Okay, so also, one thing that you should remember is the growing medium for these plants need to be the same. So these guys, they can tolerate the medium that we're going to use. I don't generally use this medium for them, but they can grow very well in it. I have grown them very well in the medium I'm going to tell you how to mix right now. But all of the rest of them grow in the medium that we are actually going to use now. Okay, so what kind of medium do we use? So in this bucket here, I've got a mixture of silica sand and sphagnum, mold sphagnum. So it's literally a 50-50 mixture is generally what you need. Sphagnum does decompose and silica sand does not, because it's sand, silica sand. So I generally add at least another 5 to 10% more sphagnum. So yeah, it's a little bit more sphagnum heavy, but that's okay, because some, like this Sarracenia right here, won't mind that. And some of the others, they'll grow in it. And over time, the sphagnum will break down and dissipate, and the silica sand, it will become more free draining. So what do we do first? Let us fill this container with the growing medium. So like I said, I've mixed this 50-50. You can add a little bit more sphagnum if you want. You don't need to. 50-50 is good. I prefer to add just a little bit more peat to this. So I'm going to leave these plants in the containers inside the larger container, the actual bog container, and I'm going to backfill in between all the spaces as best I can, and then I'm going to wet it down, and then pop the plants out with their pots, take them out of their pots, and put them into the molds that form. Okay, so let's do that. And this process can be quite time consuming. Do you see? And remember, these are plants at the end of the day. Yeah, everyone makes a big fuss. They're so delicate and don't damage them. And yeah, obviously you try not to damage your plants, but they are plants and they're capable of remarkable regeneration. So you don't need to fuss too much with them. This one's quite low, so I'm just going to pop that up actually. And push that in there. I'm going to go move it all the way around and just pop that guy right there. Put that one in there, that little bit in there. And then I'll just try and compact it in around the pots so that hopefully we don't have any spaces. I'll put that there and then move it along. You want it more or less to the same height. Look, you can do like landscaping inside this little pot, so you could do like little hills. You could even put a pond in here with some plastic which you conceal. This is just a basic bog garden. And then there's still some space over there. Okay. I'm just gonna give it a good shake about. Okay. So don't discard the rest of your sphagnum and silica medium mix. Just keep it on hand because you may still need some more, and then you stick it into your little tray. I see there's a little insect right there who's probably going to get caught if he's not careful. So now all we need is we're going to use some water, which with a little spout which I've got right here. So this actually just gives it a nice gentle spray. So I'm just going to wet all the medium all around the outside. And just try and get in all the nooks and crannies. really nifty little device. And once I'm going to put the entire 2 liters of water in here so that I'm sure that I see the water start coming out the bottom. This is obviously rainwater. And now you begin to see the water actually flowing out from underneath. I remember, like, yes, we all keep labels and things. Like, if you want to keep your labels of your plants, then you're going to need to keep your labels on hand so you can actually stick them in alongside the plants in the bog garden, so you always know which plant is which, or else you will be confused. And that's it. Okay. So now what we do is we're going to take the plants out of their pots like this. So I'm going to lift it out very carefully like that, and there's a hole in there. So now I basically, that's a Drosera, so I know that it's very sticky and it's going to get, you're going to think, oh well, it's going to get damaged. That's okay, the plant will actually rise above it. And I'll just tap it out like that. And I think maybe I'll need just a little bit more. Like that. And just pop it down in there. And it almost looks right at home already. And then we're going to repeat that process. Just wiggle it slightly, pop it out. Venus flytrap, don't worry if the trap's shut on you, that's okay, they'll reopen. Try not to get them to close, but if they do, that's okay, it's not a big deal. And then just drop it in there. Next is Lady Sarracenia. Like that. And the reason why I'm just like, it looks like I'm just throwing them in there is because it prevents the actual medium in the pot, because they've not been in these pots. Some of them have not been in these pots for very long, so I want to retain the medium that they're actually sitting in. I don't want to, I'm not repotting them. Or you rinse the medium away and you actually give them completely new medium. I actually want this medium in the pot. And then next is Drosera alata. And she's going to go in like that. And then the little Venus flytrap and sundew compilation with its label. That one's well rooted, more or less. And I'm going to turn that and drop it in there. Whoops, that didn't work as well as planned. That's okay. It's fine. And then the Sarracenias in the back. That's, you can see, is a different medium, but that's completely fine. Same thing with this one. That's like half of its medium came out there and half stayed behind. That's okay too. Put that one in there. And then lastly, that one's even got some cocoa chip in there, so actually maybe that I want to take off. Because though they may grow in cocoa chip, the rest will not like the cocoa chip. So that is going to get backfilled with some regular medium. Now again, they say that because it's the sphagnum is dry, you should be careful with dry sphagnum because it will rip the water straight out of the plant. Yeah, there is a danger of that, but personally I've never really experienced that danger. None of my plants have suffered as a result. So if you wanna, if that's important to you, then you can sort of be aware of that. But for me, is okay. I don't care so much about it. Then I will cover all of the rest of the stuff like that. All of the spaces where it seems to be connecting. Whoops, that Venus flytrap's got a mouthful of sand. And then lastly, in this container here, I've got some really nice live sphagnum, which I want to cultivate and sort of put in between. So I'm going to put it round the back. And I'm just going to, so that's the head of the sphagnum right there. And then that's the length of it. So I'm literally just going to lay it flat. You can do this. Let's use another piece, I'll show you. So that, like I said, that's the head, that's the growing point, and that's the length of it. So you can actually just nip the head off and then put the head straight on the surface like that, and will continue growing. But if you do lay them out, you'll cover more ground that way, and the plant will actually will develop very nicely and quickly and cover the ground in the bog garden a lot faster. So I'm just sticking them liberally. That one's got a nice red head over there, which is quite pretty. Mosquito. And that's pretty much it. So that's how to do a bog garden. So now what I'm going to do is the little bottle I used to actually spray them and wet them, I'm going to do that all over again and flood this container. Rinse all the sand wherever I see the plants might be covered with some sand, some silica sand. I'm going to try and just rinse them or flood them. So I'll flood the entire container and I will leave it overnight like that. And then tomorrow it should be completely saturated, and then it will look like this. So this is a completed bog garden which I did maybe at the start of spring, and you can very clearly see how well all the plants are doing. A lot of the drosseras are flowering, sarracenias are taking off really nicely. They've made quite a few new pitches. I mean, there's even a little crab spider right there, just sitting right on the leaf. And you can see that the plants are actually littered with insects, especially the drosseras. So you can actually just see how many insects they've caught. And this is actually sitting in the same container, same type of container, and once in a while I just fill it up and I actually let it flood. I bring it up to the same level as the plants and I just let that evaporate over time. And then you can see little sedges starting to grow in between, and then the sphagnum moss, which is starting to take a hold of the actual surface, which is really nice. And there are lots of tiny little things going on in here, which is really brilliant. And guys, that is pretty much how to do a bog garden. All my plants in one space, looking really happy, flowering away. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Other than that, guys, I'm gonna say see you later for now. Keep your fingers green and enjoy gardening. Bye for now.